Did you recently move to a job at a higher income level, but at the end of the month, you look at your finances and nothing is saved?
Ever felt like budgets are boring, mundane, and never seem to work when you complete one?
We're going to prove you wrong and help you put together a budget on episode 1. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to 2 Gents, 2 Cents. Budgeting, why do we do it, James? Why are we starting with this as our first topic?
Yeah, so, guys, let's be frank, budgets are boring. But in my own personal path to wealth, I have a motto: failure to plan is planning to fail, and budgets are the foundational step in any financial plan.
Absolutely. Budgeting is the foundational step in your financial plan because you can't start picking your investment strategy or start figuring out how to grow your wealth if your finances aren't organized and you don't know how much money you have to work with for your financial plan. And for sure, budgeting can be boring, but what's a hell of a lot more boring than sitting down and budgeting.
A lot more boring is being poor.
Well, yeah, for sure being poor. But when it's all your friends plan a trip to Europe or to Costa Rica and you're still at home because you have no money saved. And so because we know budgeting can be boring and also can seem daunting if you've never put together a comprehensive budget before, we want to make that easier for you. So on our website, we've actually composed a resource for you guys. Go to 2gents2cents.com. Those are spelled twos, not the number 2. 2gents2cents.com. Go to the resources tab, and there's a budget spreadsheet for you guys. If you are not familiar with Excel or you haven't used Excel before, it's totally fine. We have done everything for you. So look at the other tab in that spreadsheet. There are instructions on how to use that spreadsheet, but basically what it comes down to is you're just going to put in your income and you're going to put the amounts that you want to budget for any particular expenses. We've created a couple categories that are common among budgets, and there's a ton of empty categories for you guys to fill in your own budget. And when you fill in those categories, all of your numbers are automatically going to calculate. So it's going to tell you
We did the math for you.
We did the math for you. So you're going to have all of those numbers automatically calculated. How much money do I have left over after expenses? Okay, what if I want a slightly bigger clothing budget? Automatically, that bottom line is going to autofill for you. So it makes it really easy for you guys if you've never put together a budget before. It's such an important concept before you watch any of our other episodes. If you're excited about investing and you're excited about growing your wealth and you want to understand how to do that, do this first. Put together a budget and go into these remaining episodes that you're going to hear every week with an understanding of your financial situation, and that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, guys, when you do this, be realistic. Just start out from the very get-go being honest with yourself. Listen, your money is not going to follow a lie. Start out being honest with yourself, and then your money will show. A great example of this is the Starbucks person, and we all know this person, right? They spend $9 a day on their Starbucks drink before work, and in fact, they're late to work often because they have to get this
James,
fixed.
I'm right here, man.
Oh,
I'm right here.
Goodness, Brandon. And that person at the end of the year looks at their budget or looks at their account balance and goes, where did all the money go? Well, that's just one part of their finances that they probably weren't honest about, and I think that is crucial to just getting a bigger picture. I would say you probably have to be honest with yourself budgeting for at least 3 months. An honest 3 months will get you a great perspective of what you're working with.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of people start right away with their prospective budget and where they wish they would put their money if they were an ideal financial investor. Yep. But it's really important to have 1 month where you're not budgeting, you're just writing down where your money went for a month. So just look at your bank statement or your receipts and mark down in those categories how much you did spend, and now use that normal month as a springboard to now plan, okay, what should I be budgeting for and how can I do better moving forward? And that allows you to be realistic. Wow, I spend $150 on coffee a month. I spend $300 a month eating out with my friends. Now I can start to make cuts because you actually tangibly can see how much money is going towards those categories that isn't getting invested, it's not getting saved, and it's not growing wealth for you.
Right. Okay, so we've already covered the first 2 steps to get this thing done correctly, right? It's sit down and do it, and then second is be honest and realistic with yourself. The third one, which I personally think is one of the most important ones that's overlooked, is we got to have an emergency fund. Have to go very far back, right, to see that this is important. I mean, COVID hit in March. Millions of people were affected by that. And the point of an emergency fund is not to completely alleviate those things, because that's impossible, right? But it's to dampen as much as we can. And I think that things happen all the time that we're not prepared for. Because variables happen in everyday life, right? The only thing constant in life is change, which another line for you guys, but it's very, very important to try and be as prepared as possible for the changes that happen.
A lot of people call these emergency funds their swan fund, sleep well at night. Obviously, COVID is this big worldwide event that just shook everybody's entire country's finances. But on a daily basis, people can have financial shocks to their plan. A car breaks down, a flooding happens in your home, and all of a sudden there's thousands of dollars that have to come from somewhere that weren't budgeted for, has to come out of somewhere. And that's why planning ahead and little by little putting into an emergency fund allows you to cover those expenses as they come up without affecting your budget and without affecting your financial plan. So James, when I work with people on their budget, a lot of times they ask me, okay, so how much should I save? If these type of events happen, what would you say?
Well, that's going to be hard to say just because that's a personal preference. But I always tell my clients, especially when they're starting out with investing, is that if they're going to have an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months is what I would plan. That's what I did plan for. I think that just covers so many bases. I think COVID is a ridiculous example, obviously, because of how extreme it is. But for most things, 3 to 6 months will get you covered.
And what that basically means is that if you were fired right now, you could pay your bills for 3 to 6 months.
Right.
You might have to not order Starbucks anymore on your Swan Fund. It's not saying that you have to cover your entire budget for 6 months. It's saying that you should be able to cover your bills and your essentials for 3 to 6 months. I think that's important. You don't need $35,000 saved to cover your ideal budget. So, and the importance of starting a budget, the importance of starting an emergency fund, all of these elements are exponentially more important at a young age. You're in college, you're just out of college, you're just starting to create your own financial picture. I know, James, this is right up your ballpark. What do you tell the young people out there?
Ready for another one-liner?
We're ready.
Save early, save often, guys. I'm going to beat that nail on the head probably for years to come here, but the earlier you start, the more money you will have in the end. And a great example of this is the fact that time is more valuable than principal. And what I mean by that is if you have a small amount of money and you have a long period of time, it's going to be worth more than a lot of money with a short period of time. So, for example, what if I told you guys I gave you a penny at the beginning of the month and that every day it doubled, and at the end of the month it was millions of dollars? A lot of you probably would take that deal, right?
I would absolutely take that deal. And we're going to explain why that happens and start getting into actually growing wealth and covering the basics of investing next week in our next podcast.
That concludes our very first podcast, episode 1, 2 Gents, 2 Cents. In conclusion for you guys, remember 3 steps. It's sit down, do it, right? Step 1. Step 2, be honest, be realistic with yourself. Step 3, set aside money for an emergency fund just in case something happens, right? Life is variable.
We want to make sure that this podcast is a resource to people. So there's a couple ways you can contact us for future topics that you want to see covered. Right. Number 1 is at our website, 2gents2cents.com. You can also email us at 2gents2cents@gmail.com or find us on Instagram handle. You're never going to guess what it is. 2gents2cents. What a plot twist. Thank you guys for listening. Drop us some topics that you want to see covered. All you need to take control of your finances is a couple cents and common sense. See you next time.